right, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all had a good long weekend. I thought we could talk about something a little bit different today based on the weekend that we had. With the weather getting drier and everything getting more windy, we're starting to see a little more fires around town. Now, lately, we've been talking about different ecosystems and ecological concepts, so I thought today we could discuss the role that fire kind of plays in some of these systems. So to start, let's go over to the whiteboard and discuss some of the pros and cons that we see with fires. So, can anybody think of anything that good or bad that kind of comes when we see these sorts of things? All right, that's a good idea. So they do prevent overgrowth. What else? Yep, so unfortunately, we do see it occasionally destroy homes. Yep, and good idea. Along with that, sometimes it can be harmful to wildlife or people that are in that situation. Yep, that's a good one too. So everything does start to kind of become pretty smoky and kind of hard to breathe after a little while. What about any more pros? Any other good things we can think of? Maybe with people that are working around town? Okay, yep, so that's a good idea. So it does provide more jobs. Anything else we can think of with either of these? Okay, yeah, so it can get to be expensive. All the resources that we need to extinguish these fires can start to add up after a while. So one thing we need to be kind of conscientious of is especially when we're talking about things with ecology is what is good and what is bad all depends on who we're talking about. For example, the trees don't really care how much we spend on a fire. They just want the fire to go away. In some cases, kind of depending on the trees that we'll kind of see in a minute. Remember that ecology is how organisms interact with each other and with the environment. I feel like sometimes we can get a little stuck on food chains and we kind of forget the role that the environment really plays on everything. Um, and this definition of ecology tends to be a little bit more nature based, and management is kind of more of what we do. So when we manage, we tend to do things like forest thinning, where we go in and we cut down trees. We do controlled burns sometimes because that can be good for the forest. We have wildlife management where we have hunting, trapping, fishing, those sorts of things. We have things like weed spraying where we control even the different types of plants that are out and about. And it's important to look at this stuff because all of these kind of affect the entire environment that these organisms live in, and also sometimes the biology of the organisms themselves. And keep in mind, this isn't on an individual basis. This is kind of over a long period of time through natural selection when we look at their overall evolution as a species. So, fires themselves can help forest management. So sometimes it is a good thing for just the forest to burn a little bit. And so that's why we kind of will put on these controlled burns sometimes. Or you'll notice with the Forest Service, they'll kind of let the fire burn for a little bit before they go in and start to kind of take care of it. One of those reasons is that we get these thick layers of something called humus. And so it's not the kind you eat, don't worry, but a bunch of dead branches, leaves, grasses, everything that kind of build up on the forest floor. And so the more that those build up, the more they can kind of cause problems. And so a burn is an easy way to kind of get rid of all of that stuff. The trees themselves sometimes can get thick and die with different bugs or diseases or whatever. And so it's good to kind of keep that controlled as well, which fires can also help with getting rid of all the dead stuff that's kind of in the forest and does a good job of cleaning everything up. Also, it can enrich the soil too. Sometimes a lot of that ash has carbon in it, so it can actually promote growth later on as well of new healthy trees and plants and things. Another thing is that it can assist in certain life cycles. So, like lodge poles, for example, their cones open in the presence of a fire. So, until it hits 175 degrees, which hopefully it doesn't just naturally on a summer day, um, their cones are covered in like a thick resin. And so, this heat will kind of melt away that resin, and then their cones will open and seeds will fall. So, they actually need those to actually promote growth within their little communities. Um, so yeah, there's just all sorts of things we need to kind of keep in mind. So what I want you guys all to do is just in your little groups at your tables, think about a fire that you've either seen or heard of or know about in town, or even the ones in California that we had last summer, and just kind of discuss what you guys think happened and how that affected not just the people that were involved in nearby, but the forests in general and the animals that were around, and kind of how that must have affected different things. And so you guys start discussing that. I'll kind of come around to your tables and just kind of see how that discussion is going.